Guys, and we're here with a new deck this week, and this week we will be playing Abzan Lifegain, and yeah, I mean this deck is in its early stages. I mean, I'm probably going to make a few changes before you guys actually see an episode on it, but at the minute, this is how it is, because I'm kind of short on time. I've got other problems coming in, because I'm going to be going home for Easter, and my internet at home is god-awful. What takes me half an hour to upload here will take me 3 hours or more to upload at home. So if I miss an upload or uploads come out at like random times, then yeah, you know why. I've just been sitting there looking bored for about 3 hours. But yeah, so without further ado, let us get into my life gain deck. It is Abzan, so it's not too original this deck. I mean, I've took a few twists from other decks and made it a bit more interesting, hopefully. Such as first card we run is Ajani's Primate. This guy is a 2/2 for 2, which is already pretty good, but every time you gain life, he gets bigger. That's obviously fantastic in a life gain deck. This guy, he tends to eat a lot of removal, which would be better suited for some bigger creatures, such as uh, like angelic edicts and stuff. People generally try and use them on this guy, Flesh to Dust, and I mean, any card for 2 mana which forces people to use that much removal is pretty good. I mean, it's not unusual to see this guy at like minimum of 5/5 if they don't remove it by the end of the game. Usually, I mean, I've had this guy up to a 10/10 before. It's just ridiculous. This guy, and he's obviously I need an early drop card, and he fit the bill basically in this deck. So yeah, because this deck was having trouble early game when I was playtesting. So this guy, he slotted in pretty nicely there. Next we run two, I think these are my only auras in the deck. We run two Oracle the Heliod's. This guy is I mean, he gets bigger when you attack in, plus you gain 10 life if you get 3+1/+1 counters on this guy, which is pretty good in life. If you have like Sanguine Bond or Viscopa Guild Mage out, this guy is a really big problem. They need to deal with it fairly fast, otherwise they're going to lose half their life in one turn. And I mean, if the odd chance, which is the reason, which is very unusual interaction with this card, that they have a creature with 2+1/+1 counters on it, or more, two or more +1/+1 counters on it, and they're down to 10 life, and you do have a Sanguine Bond out, give this to that creature, because then it can't swing, and otherwise they'll kill themselves, because you can't actually target opponent's creatures, because you'll gain that 10 life and that'll kill them. So I mean, that's a funny interaction. I highly doubt we'll get to see it, but if we do, it's an instant upload even if I get smashed. Next we run the Heart and Soul basically of Life Gain decks and Lone Missionary, because this guy gains you 4 life, which is exactly what you need for Angelic Accord. If he gains you 1 less life, this guy would be basically useless. As it is, he is fantastic. He's 2/1 for 2. That crucial, like, I mean, rarely do you cast this guy turn 2. More time you're going to cast this guy turn 3, so Gianni's gets bigger, or when you've got a Angelic Accord or Sanguine Bond out, so you can start hitting your opponent for a reasonable amount of damage. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. I don't think there's a life gain deck being built with this guy not in just because he's that good. This guy is also a really good card. We have Wrong's Faith Mender, Lifelink, and he gains you double the life a turn, which you would normally gain. So this guy, he obviously gets pretty ridiculous. There's certain cards coming up, but I mean, with Baneslayer, that's 10 life you'll gain in a turn, minimum. That's just ridiculous right there. He's a 4-drop. Really good 4-drop. I mean, you get red decks basically can't handle them. Mono red, or they need like a Banefire for 6, which is quite a hefty chunk. And obviously, if that's getting pointed at this guy, it's not getting pointed at your face, which is always a good thing. So yeah, I mean, this guy's fantastic. Not much else to say. Seance is the card in this deck, which really helps it gel, because if you have creatures in your graveyard which you really like back and the battlefield effects when they come in handy, such just play a Lone Missionary, get your a Johnny's Pride mate a bit bigger, then they both die. Later on in the game, when you've got Angelic Accord out, you bring that Lone Missionary back, and suddenly you've got a 4/4 token out with it. So I mean, Seance is ridiculous. I mean, this deck isn't too original, as you've probably seen, so it wouldn't. I mean, you've probably all seen how Seance functions and how good it is, but yeah. Not much else to say. I'm going to be saying that about most cards. I mean, most of these guys are pretty good. So yeah. This is a win condition. Angelic Accord. Run all 3. Anytime you gain 4 life, you get a 4/4 Angel. This guy can get out of hand. They need to get rid of this if they want to have any chance of winning the game. Because in theory, you can be getting 2 Angels, like 1 on your turn, 1 on their turn. And then suddenly you're swinging with 8 the next turn, which is just... it's unsustainable. is the word to use to put it. So yeah, they really need to get. I mean, you're never unhappy to have this guy in your hand. Even 2 in your hand isn't too terrible, as long as you got some life gain to go along with it. So yeah, it's a fantastic card. Can't really go wrong with it. Then there's these next three cards are all just win conditions as well. Baneslayer, 5 mana, got everything you need in that card. Lifelink, good in a Lifegain deck, surprisingly. But yeah, and then you've got flying and first strike. Dragons and demons are both really common in this metagame, so it's pretty good to have this thing in the game. And it's this card is just the most valuable card in Magic, this format at the minute actually. So yeah, I mean, nothing else to say. I don't think there'd been a life game deck which didn't have that guy in it. Next we run one Battlegrace Angel. This guy is basically a weaker Baneslayer in this deck. Because I mean, if he swings in by himself, he is a 5/5 lifelinker himself. He just doesn't have all the first strike stuff. I mean, you can buff other creatures as well. So if you've got like a 3-power creature, you play this guy. 3-power creature swings in, you gain 4 life. Angel comes out, that sort of thing. I mean, it gels really well in this deck. So we run one of them. And finally, we run the new card, Felidar Sovereign, which is just Vigilance Lifelink itself, which is already pretty good. 40 more life, you win the game. I hope we get to see that this week. But this guy, I mean, 40 life is quite hard to reach, but if you can get that high and you do have this guy, it's pretty. Just says game over unless they have removal for this guy. They've got one turn to get rid of it. Next we move on to black, and black is also quite prevalent in this deck. We run 2 Tribute to Hungers. This guy is mostly in as removal, is my only removal in the deck. I did originally run about 10 removal spells, but it just didn't leave enough room for like life gain and like actual creatures. So I was just kind of stalling out trying to get like Baneslayer out, and so it wasn't really working. But yeah, this is my only removal which managed to stay in. Gains your life, which is obviously nice, but it's not even that necessary in this guy. This guy just says to kill target creature for me. Well, actually, no, it doesn't. I kind of worded that wrong. I meant this guy just says kill a creature. Obviously, doesn't kill target creature. That would be too good. But yeah, I mean, the life gain is nice. I mean, if you can get like a Terror Stomp, that's pretty funny. But as it stands, this guy is just my only removal in the game. Next, we run to card draw, Engraved Muse. The ability isn't too bad in this deck, as you are gaining way more than 1 life a turn. Hopefully I won't kill myself like that guy did yesterday, but even with 2 of these out, and I think these are my only zombies, then you gain drawing 4 cards and losing 4 life, which isn't too unsustainable considering how much life gain we've got in this deck. So yeah, I mean, rarely will we see 2 out. I see this guy as he draws an extra card a turn, which is obviously fantastic. He's a 3/3 body as well, which is always nice. Next we run to Sanguine Bond. This guy is a win condition. When you gain life, opponent loses that much life. Not much has to be said. It makes your pointless gaining life not pointless anymore, and suddenly they are in really big trouble if you have this guy and like, I don't know, a bunch of lifelink creatures out. They need something fairly fast. Next, when my opponent inevitably does have a removal for my bigger creatures, this guy brings them straight back onto the battlefield. Plus, it abuses any of the battlefield effects, such as like Lone Missionary and stuff like that. You can bring one of them back. Then bring your, I don't know, like a Sovereign or something like that, and then suddenly you've got a really powerful board. It's a really powerful card. It's my only recursion in the deck. I think it's pretty much the only good recursion in the game. But yeah, not much else to say. Here come my black bombs. Sheoldred, not much to say. I think, like I said, any black deck which is in the later game, this guy will just be in. Swampwalk is good. Bring back target creature, abusers enter the battlefield effects, and finally they have to get rid of more creatures. Every time I build a black deck, I'm going to be saying that about Sheoldred. I mean, there's nothing more interesting to say about it. This guy is just ridiculous. Completely. I mean, look, it's just, there's not, like, every time I get here, I get angry because how good this card is, and I think that sums it up better than anything I could say. Next, we run a 1 of Runescar Demon. This thing is here because it's versatile. It can get me Sheoldred if I need to. It can also get me, if I'm getting close to 40 life, I'll get a Sovereign. Or even if I just need Graveyard Recruiter, so all the mana fixing or anything. I mean, this guy's versatile. I mean, he's a tutor and a 6/6 body. Fantastic guy, can't complain. Next we move on to green, where there's really not too much green, but we have 3 Wayfinders. These guys help us get some good stuff in the graveyard for Seance and for Sheoldred and for Rescue. So yeah, I mean, there's a potential for like a turn 5 Sheoldred in this deck, but I mean, obviously it's quite low, but it's there. Plus, there's my pretty much this and Cultivate and my mana fixing in this deck. So I mean, if you get this and you need a white source, there's a decent chance you'll get a white source. And even if you don't, you're throwing 4 things in the graveyard, which you wouldn't have wanted to draw anyway. Next we only run 2 culverts because we are running the Sit Away Finest. This is just mana fixing. The ramp is kind of not necessary in this deck, although it's always nice to go from 3 to 5 mana. I don't think I have too many 5-cost creatures, apart from like Sanguine Bond. But yeah, culvert's good mana fixing. This deck is quite demanding on mana. I think you need 2 black, 2 white, and 3 green. So yeah, so it's always nice to be able to get them final closes, which you might need to fin off your deck. 2 Saruli Gatekeepers, which are 4-drop 2/4, which gains you 7 life, which obviously is fantastic. Gates isn't really a problem. You are playing a 3-colored deck, so you're running plenty of gates. And yeah, not much else to say about that. And it's kind of like a more expensive Lone Missionary, but it is better in generally every way apart from the mana cost. I originally didn't run this guy, and it was just there wasn't enough life gain abusal. Like creatures was actually just pure gained life when they hit the field. So yeah, I need to add a couple more of these guys, and they fit the bill. If we can get the triple green, this guy is fantastic. 7/7 gains you 7 life, draws you a card if it dies. Gels fantastically in this deck. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you can play this guy, get a 4/4 angel plus this guy in the field. They have to choose which one they want to remove. It can get out of hand. Obviously, you can bring it back with Shoulders or Rescue from the Underworld. It's just, yeah, it's a green bomb. Pelican. I'd say it's the most value card. Like, Brainstead is the most, like, just the best card in the game, but this guy, he's pushing the money out just for, because you always get something nice when you cast a Pelican unless they cancel it. And finally, we run 2 Viscopa Guild Mage. This guy, the life-giving lifelink is obviously nice if you have a big creature which doesn't have lifelink, such as Pelican. But more importantly, this is guy mostly offensive for the whenever you gain life, they have to lose that much life. If you can get to like 6 mana with this creature out, I mean, you can give something lifelink and make them punish them for you giving them lifelink. It's pretty powerful. It's in the deck. And there we have it. I mean, 23 creatures, 15 other spells, and 23 lands. Speaking of lands, let's have a look at them now. It's fairly straightforward. I mean, it's not been optimized yet, but we're just running all copies of the gates in these colors. As white and black are the biggest, we run 4 of them each, and then 3 forests. And yeah, I mean, I've played a couple games with this deck. I think I've only played test about 4. I think I won 3 and lost 1, but that one I lost was one of them games where you were always going to lose it. It wasn't the deck's fault for not turning up. And hopefully we can play this deck. And as always, if you have any improvements you'd like to see in the deck, please let me know. And I'm really interested to see what you guys think. I mean, the deck's definitely not finished, so your help is always appreciated. And yeah, hope I explained about the maybe slower uploads and stuff like that. Plus, I might be a bit quiet on my videos because you know, family are in the house, so I might have to keep it down. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.